Is 1107 going to be okay? Because at the moment it's looking, I don't know, man. Hey, it's Soul, and this is Warcraft Weekly, where everything's okay after a lot of rationalizing. You can help support the channel by liking this video, subscribing for more WoW coverage, and catching me whenever I'm live. It's the final month of the year, when all the companies taking our data give a little of it back and prove how creepy they are by telling us everything about ourselves. It's also less than 2 weeks away from a new War Within patch, a little something for us to chew on, and spit back out and then ask like, hey, where's the content? But jokes aside, the patch offers a bit for everyone as we wind down this season. Like me, for example, it's when I can start doing keys, keystone dungeons. It's kind of an experiment of mine. I want to see how things go when I try to build up a team with my guild to take on dungeons with almost no experience and too much gear. It's going to be great. First though, it's usually about now when I throw together a guide detailing the what's what of systems, that is the things to do in this upcoming patch to get all them snazzy prizes. We're seeing all the right signs so far. We have a splashy little graphic with some release dates, December 17th for the patch and mid-January for Plunderstorm. The patch is on a release candidate as well, and yet I can't write an actual guide worthy of your attention because what I'm seeing on the PTR is missing some critical information. Siren's Isle is a new zone. It's a playground of mob slaying and currency farming. You can buy catch-up gear for alts, you get a ring that eventually powers up, and you can slot it with some neat little, okay, kind of amazing powers. I like guiding people through like the specifics of what to expect so we can avoid surprises, but the zone is honestly pretty self-explanatory. There's a grind, but it's also fast-paced, and you'll catch yourself getting things pretty much every day until you're done. Heck, if you want to take your time, or even take a break until the next season, hey, you're good. That's the World of Warcraft these days. What we don't know for sure, though, is what the situation is for alts at the moment. I don't like being a doomer, but with only a few weeks until the patch and this being a release candidate, I'm kind of puzzled over how alt-unfriendly the zone is on the PTR. I'm also counting on things working out just fine in the live patch, and I might just be worrying over nothing, though it is important I show you my findings as I see it. Like I said, the zone is straightforward. A short questline will get you a ring, and there's no weird hoops to jump through or tower things to climb to power it up or to get the gems needed to customize it. You're just going to kill lots of rares, and you do quests, and you'll eventually have a powered up ring. I say eventually because the exact specifics on the when aren't all that clear, but that's not the huge concern right now. What is odd at the moment, though, is almost none of the progression on Siren Isle is shared across the warband. Obviously, any appearances earned are kept and shared across the warband, but feature unlocks and accessibility are not. So currently on the PTR, I have a character who played through the entire Siren Isle questline. They can fly, they have a juiced up ring, all that stuff. I have another character who had to start the questline from the beginning, and they cannot fly. It's odd because the zone seems set up in a way that this should be very alt-friendly, and here's why. As we quest through and discover the gemstones for our ring, the game will tell us that these gemstones can now be purchased from a vendor, which is, hey, pretty cool. The thing is, though, there's no reason to buy more than one of these gemstones because from the looks of it, we can only have one of these special rings. It's unique. Gems can be swapped out at will without having to return to Siren Isle, meaning we don't need multiple gems or rings to suit our changing playstyles. So with that in mind, what's the point of buying more gems at all? What I presume is outside of getting a replacement in case we lose them, the unlock is less for our main, but more for our alts, who I think should be able to visit the island and then buy all the gems using currency that can currently be traded via warband. I do predict we'll still have to play our alts in order to upgrade these rings from 619 to 639 or whatever, and that's, just playing the zone and killing rares and so on and so forth. At the moment, though, none of that is reflected on the PTR, which, like I said, it's unusual given how close we are to launch. I am going to stay confident that Blizzard's still all in with the warband philosophy, and what we're seeing is just a PTR bug, but stay tuned for a guide to set you straight once it's ready. With player housing in the distant future, I feel like the dog that caught the car, you know what I mean? There's going to be developments and news I'll cover extensively, but for now, I'm in that period where I need like a new thing to champion and obsess over, otherwise how do I breathe? Delves are still settling in their place, and Season 2 will give us an impression of how they'll treat that going forward, so we can kind of hold off on that conversation. I'm trying my best to keep up other conversations on transmog, from unlocks to costs, to keeping it fun for players to keep pursuing. There's another big topic I've engaged with in the past, and it's the state of World of Warcraft as a social game mixed with co-op gameplay, and by that I mean dungeons and raids, but probably mostly dungeons at the moment. As someone who's very pro-guild, I'm going to present the following questions now before I get into my long little spiel. What do you want a guild to be? Like, what do you want it to do for you? What do you think are fun and cool things you want to do for a guild, like, things to work towards? What are incentives that would compel you to become part of a guild? These questions also apply to the lesser used community system. There are no wrong answers, but these questions are directed towards those of you who feel like it would be cool to be in a guild, but for whatever reason it hasn't worked out. If you don't care for guilds, of course, hey, feel free to chime in anyway. I live in a bubble in this World of Warcraft, and I want to make it clear that I'm out of touch with a lot of other players, including you probably. I'm in a guild and I have pretty much full autonomy over what I feel like doing, and I don't have to worry ever about finding a group. Like, for example, normally I do Keystone dungeons early in the season for gear so I can do raids and stuff, but Delves happened to fill in that hole for me, so I decided to do something different. I just mentioned this earlier, I'm not going to do any keys until the last third of the season. In the meantime, I've just been raiding with my guild. I'll raid log, I do achievements, I'll get a Mimron head, and I just goof off. I play other games too. Oh my god, I'm so disloyal. And the plan is, after the patch, I'm going to reach out to my team and I'll set up a static group, mostly static group, where we'll run 4 keys every Wednesday starting at 10 p.m. Eastern until we all get Keystone Master, and then after which we'll just abruptly stop. Now, I know that sounds very specific, but I've been doing that for years. It's all a routine and it works out. I just happen to make for myself this very rigid schedule. It's a marked difference compared to the Pug world. Their folks have the benefit of the entire region to group with on their own time, but it's not without its drawbacks, right? It's not always certain how long it's going to take to put that group together, what the result will be, and if you are going to benefit, as in, get gear or raiding. No matter what, success is never guaranteed, but as a guild and raid leader, the thought in my head is, hey, I'm just hanging with friends that I'm going to see, even after this run. That in itself is a goal. It goes hand in hand with getting gear and, pushing keys. Sometimes that social aspect is more important for the sake of connection and being present. Rewards aren't always a visible, lootable thing. Now, again, for me personally, it's been a long time since I've thought of only myself in this game. For the past 17 or so years, this guild has been an extension of my character and my WoW career, so of course it's been going on for this long. I gotta look out for guild morale, guild throughput, guild survivability, item level, and so on and so forth. It's the kind of gameplay reserved for people who have that kind of availability and of course the will. It's the kind of gameplay I know I cannot push onto you like it's the best or it's the proper way to play the game, but I just want to demonstrate that there is a very different way of grouping than the Pug world that both Blizzard and its players have been pushing hard since 2016, since Legion. Something Blizzard's made really clear with keys in Season 1 is that they want to align difficulty and rewards with mythic raiding. If you want the best gear from keys, as in the myth track stuff, you gotta be as tight and as coordinated as mythic raiders, just on a smaller scale, 5 as opposed to 20. And that's proven to be a paradox, considering how we live in a World of Warcraft where more and more people want to treat mythic keys like the dungeon finder. From what folks tell me, they're not interested in being part of a guild or a community or a static group because they've had maybe one too many bad experiences, or it's too much trouble and they don't even want to try, but hey, they do want to get their keys in for the week. So they settle for this between the systems and the culture of the Pug world. From the sounds of it though, they're unhappy, and I'm less certain that, quote, fixing the game is going to fix the culture. Rather, it might reinforce it. Like I saw in a recent video, Bellular suggested a solo queue system for keys, complete with ratings and punishments for early leavers, just like the Dungeon and Raid Finder, kinda sort of. But I wondered to myself, is the punishment there the penalty for leaving early, or is it gonna be feeling super miserable being forced to complete that dungeon? History has shown, especially in gaming, that the stick doesn't do a great job of teaching players good behavior, just suppressing the absolute worst behavior. I've made it clear that I'm socially averse to pugs. Like, I get that instant anxiety that I'll disappoint this stranger and that their first and last impression of me is going to be bad, and there's no making up for that. Now, I struggle with that. I know it's kind of irrational because it's more likely that I'm going to be forgotten a second later. But I do take comfort playing with my guild, even if it's at a lower level, even if we wipe a lot, because at the end of it, we're playing together and we're getting to know each other better and we're building a bit of that teamwork, and hopefully someone got a drop. My next grand mission in the creator space is to keep talking up this social side of the game, from highlighting the internal struggle of grouping with strangers to demonstrating social soft skills, which seem to have eroded thanks to the internet. I want to talk up static groups and being part of communities and guilds, and of course I want to ask questions. I want to get more input. I want to also offer suggestions and tips and be an example of what it's like to be in the sort of safety of these social groups while not making you feel like you have this new family obligation. World of Warcraft is an MMO that has a solo side to it and a social side we can jump between freely. I think the social side needs help, and while there ought to be better tools to help the right folks connect, it's run by people. We need to give a damn instead of letting these problems get out of hand, or worse, be the problem that people are talking about. And that's the show. I wanted to keep this one nice and simple. We're not that far off from the 1107 patch, and I'm eager to get all stupid with them rings. So stay tuned for that next week, and keep your eyes peeled for guides on the patch, maybe a walkthrough of the Fell Cycle mount thing if our secret finding friends break through that wall. Let's give a second to thank our incredible, infallible folks watching the live streams. A huge thanks to the ongoing patrons, and we can't forget about you. Viewer, you made it to the end, you fed the algorithm, so please like this video, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.